sharing connection. Welcome back with the 3 ways. Today we dive into the topic of sexual energy and much more. Waiting for Glenn and Sandy, in the meantime, I want to share with you the beauty of the light of the powers of sexual energy, which is very healing, and then the shadows of sexual energy. Is a topic that is important in today's world, most of all because of distractions, because of the lifestyle, because of the how people meet. So I am sure people will love this topic. Ciao Sandy, how are you, baby?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good.
Good to see you. I want to hear more. I want to hear more about your
look
healing sexual.
Glowing, Sandy.
Oh, it's the light. Look.
Better than mine. At least mine is warm. So.
Yeah. And coconut oil. Because always when we do this, it's right after I do a hot yoga class.
Okay, amazing.
So I just sweat through this show, basically.
Thank you. That's the secret, Sandy. You don't need to share it. So yeah. I know we are both very alive within us, as many others, so this topic is very deep and interesting. What is, for you, the light of sexual energy and the shadow? And then we can dive into it together, waiting for Glenn, of course, in the meanwhile.
Oh, just a simple, quick answer. What's the light and what's the shadow of sex? Sure, let me get right to that. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. All creative energy is sexual energy. People get so hung up on it, right? Now think about your organs of creation. They're in what's known as your second chakra, right? Like where your ovaries live, right? So right in this sort of lower part of the belly. Men and women both, same area. So when you look at what yogis and spiritual people have been talking about for thousands of years as the chakra, the one of the 7 energy centers that's based on creation, because that's where our stuff is that makes babies for both men and women, right? So the chakra of creation is the chakra of creativity. Literally where our creative organs live is where this creative energy comes from. So whether we're talking about using that energy to have sex, to make a person, or using that same energy to make a painting, or to write a poem, or to walk on the beach, or to breathe. It's all the same energy being used in different ways, you see?
Yeah.
When you look at it like that, Glenn, I don't know, hi, Glenn.
Greetings.
Cliff's notes, because this is not a scary topic today. It shouldn't be for anyone. When we look at sex and healing, this is what we talk about. When we looked at sex and healing, when you just look at what they call the second chakra, which is in this lower part of the belly where we have organs of creation, both men and women. No, the next one, the second one.
Yes. The act of creation, which is sexual energy. We are diving into the topic that we were discussing together, Glenn, before.
So the bottom one is the root chakra, and that's survival, money, me. And then the next one, which by the way, the chakras also follow the path of life, because when you first come out, it's just me. And then the next one is learning to create partnerships, learning who's in your family, then extending that, who's in my school, who's in my community, right? And then the third chakra is self-esteem, because now you've met some bullies, right? So the third chakra, which is digestion, it's also self-esteem. The fourth chakra is love, right? That's because now you get older, now you find your love partner, maybe you get married, whatever. So fifth is communication, because you screw up your first marriage, so then you fix your second one. And then this one's intuition, and this is your connection to the ethers. It doesn't matter. You can go back.
So here we are sharing the beginning of the understanding of sexual energy. So the alignment of the chakra, right, Sandy? Which is basically mind and body connection. That's why I want to precise before we dive together, guys, that for many, sexual energy is based on merely attraction, visualization of images. I hear many stories, to be honest, in my community, and people scrolling all day. It's important to understand that sex as a consuming energy and the aliveness that is apart, the consuming. So how do we find the aliveness between the mind and body connection, which is very healing? Because you basically, if you are awakened sexually, you are able to heal yourself and to truly act within your body thanks to your sexual energy. So it's not addictive, it's participation, true participation of energy within you or with someone. So it's basically the penetration of energies, as you just said, of the spirit, the heart and the mind, not just of the body. That's consuming energy. That's why people have never enough of sex or do lots of mistakes, even getting illnesses, mostly the young age. So it's very important to understand that sexual energy has healing powers, but which kind of sex? Because the approach is different. If you want true sexual energy that is powerful, and if you want the act itself, but then the why and the how is also very important.
You make a really good point when you talk about that when other parts of your energy system are imbalanced, it also throws off your sexual, right? Because so that sexual creation, right? Glenn, right before you came on, we were talking about the organs of creation are in your second chakra for both men and women, right? That's how babies are made. They're in there, that lives in your second chakra. So whether you're talking about creation, creating life, or being creative, all creative energy is sexual energy. I'll say it the other way. All sexual energy is creative energy.
But not
it's all just
only
creative energy.
Sandy. That's what my point is. You can heal traumas thanks to the sexual energy you got inside. You can, connect and penetrate someone's emotions thanks to your sexual energy, because your sexual energy is what penetrates someone, not only the body, but also the rest. So, when you understand the emotions around you, it's because your sexual energy is active, is real. So it's not only creative, which is the best point, to be honest, of course, but sometimes is when it's truly healing, is about penetrating the energy, the truth of the energy. So that's why it's important to have truth of connection also when you have sex, for example, because that's when you enhance the sexuality.
So if someone were to ask you clinically, how do I use sex or sexual energy for healing, what's the answer?
I can answer. So when I have a session one-to-one with someone and this person is talking, I understand that thanks to my sexual energy, because I'm truly present, I'm penetrating the person. So it's not only horniness. This is a spiritual sexual energy, which is the true energy of sex, the most important in my opinion. I'm understanding if the person is lying or not, for example, or if is acting based on what she has been told or he has been told, or if he's truly opening about the issue and the matter we are discussing. And this is sexual energy, because you are penetrating the energy and it's healing.
It might be more comfortable for people to use the word connecting, holding an open space, right? Connecting, because penetrating sounds a lot like
connection. Exactly. Yeah.
Like assertion. It's
it's an aspect of our lives. Not everything is sexual energy.
Absolutely, it's very healing. So,
Sandy, when you
kind of all is.
When you are with your kids, not sexual energy.
That's the most.
All. No,
I made them.
It's not. That's so.
How'd they get here?
Well, it is, Glenn, because, for example, someone that studied psychology and is mainly repeating what if the doctor is mainly repeating what he has been studying, there is no connection truly, but it looks there is, because there is so much knowledge. But at the end, the sexual energy is lacking because it's not penetrating the person for what it truly is. So, in my opinion, sexual energy is not only having sex; is the whole experience with it.
How do you describe in a therapeutic setting? Because I know what you mean. You keep using the word penetrating, and I know what you mean. But how do you define that in clinical terms?
So you are transcending can be the right word, or going through for people to understand, so they can visualize if you go through the body of someone, is the same when you go through the essence of someone, understanding the energy of the person in front of you. Or transcending, I believe, is the perfect word, because you detach from what it looks like and you truly feel what it is. Same for the body. People visualize so many images nowadays, and then in the moment of sex is not as it seems, and so there is insecurity, there is bad energy, awkwardness, there is uncomfortable sensations. So these all happens because true sexuality is lacking. So when we say connection, we can't avoid saying also it is sexual, not always, but it is the spiritual sexual we're talking about.
Glenn,
Yes,
where are you at?
not everything. Some things,
Not
yes.
everything.
Not,
The energy, yeah.
yes. No, Sandy, it is absolutely not. When you made that sexual energy, but that was with your partner, that energy that you
Of
shared.
course.
And with
the meaning.
your parents, kids, that is not the same type of energy. But you're
No,
welcome.
call it sexual because it's very sad to see sex only in the act of sex, because there is so much more and people forget about the experience and they immediately go straight to the point. So I'm telling you this because people do the mistake of losing the experience of it. So they have to learn that sexuality is not only the act of itself, but is the experience that is given by the energy. Of course, I will never give it out if not to my love. Glenn, you are so right. We are all conservative here about values, but also we have to understand the reality that sex is not only sex, is also the experience people have to recreate.
It's sexuality, not having sex with. So when it comes to sexuality around my parents, there is zero. It's shut down. And I show up differently than I would show up in other situations, right? Yes. So it's not about having sex with all the people, but we all show up with our sexuality. In fact, it's really important in our society that we tell people how we like to view our own genitals, and please call me my pronouns because of it, you know?
I have an example, guys. Of course, I'm a beautiful woman. Sometimes because I'm truly alive, I'm awakened, okay, as a woman, I immediately feel if there is sexual desire from a guy, and then I become tough. Just because what Glenn said, I respect love to the point that for me, I can be very harsh sometimes, but because I have my values, not because I think of, I know who I am. No, for me, we have to be open-minded, and we are all equal if in the same room. But I'm just sharing about, because I'm alive, I can feel the sexuality. If you are not alive and sexually awakened, you don't feel it because you are blind. So then I become tough, but not because, so you put your boundaries, but because I feel it. So if you don't feel it, it's because you are not awakened. And many people are very naive in today's world.
It's not that we don't have it all the time. We do have it all the time. We're trained to turn it off, especially guys like you, Glenn. You know, with our society, you, Glenn, in this trio here, you're the first one who has to shut that shit off immediately everywhere you go, or else you're in trouble. That's this society.
Yeah, well, you also can't be creepy. Well, you can be creepy, but it's not good.
Right.
But it is.
Guys are defined. Guys have zero wiggle room for creepy. Francesca can literally sit here and rightfully say, "I am beautiful, I am attractive, and I know it." If you said it, Glenn, people would be like, "Dick."
It's also for a man to feel beautiful, of course. Yeah,
it's society. It's belief systems.
Yeah,
right. It's
so
not safe.
society. Yeah,
it's not safe for a guy to come in and but for a girl, it's like, oh yeah. Right?
No,
but again, for sure, a guy that is posting selfies, which is not our case, a guy that is posting selfies all day long, for me, is not only a bit narcissistic, but is a bit of a losing vibe, because, you know, you don't post your selfies all day. It's more of a woman thing. It's not society. It's my intuition. So I believe, yes, you also have to follow your intuition. But guys, what is creepy for you?
Well,
that's a great question. Glenn, what's creepy?
He did.
Wait, say it again. What?
P. Diddy. He's very creepy.
Oh, P. Diddy is creepy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that's very creepy.
For me, creepy is someone that is the same with everything and everyone. Is a bit creepy. So the opposite of what people think, because I find darkness very, very sexy. Of course, in intimacy with my love only. I'm talking in general for people to understand. For me, creepy is someone that is the same all the time, that pretends to be sexual but he isn't, or she isn't. Or for me, creepy is someone that comes to a circle that I often organize and pretends to be understanding towards the energy, but is not understanding at all. For me, the opposite of truth. We can be creative in many ways, but the opposite of truth, so illusion, for me is creepy. Because why do you have to give out illusions, which is not genuinity, and authenticity, I'm talking truly about illusions. Why do you have to give out illusions in this world that is already so full of illusions? That's creepy for me. So for example, I understand fetish. I understand because it's appreciation for details. Of course, it depends on the pattern, but I will never judge this. Instead, I will judge someone that is giving out illusions all day long.
So when it comes to clinical and therapeutic use of what we're calling sexual energy, which when we then change the term and call it sexual healing, then it becomes creepy sounding again. But when we just look at working with this stuff, I can tell you I have lists and lists of men, mostly men. In fact, I've never had a woman come to me and ask me to help her with her performance in the bedroom. Usually women come to me with a problem because their man is too aggressive and they're uncomfortable. And so they want to deal with their own empowerment. But men are the ones who come to me for help in the bedroom. I can't even count how many, whether it comes to performance in general or ED, which is erectile dysfunction. And I'm very versed in working with that. I'm very comfortable in working with that. And I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've had their partners, both male and female partners of these men, contact me to say, thank you, oh my God. And never once in any of these hours and hours and hours that I've worked with these men, do I ever go over technique? Do I ever cross a line? It doesn't even come close, because it all comes down to what you're talking about, which is that use of energy. And too many people have been in an abuse of that energy, and too many men specifically have a misunderstanding, a false belief system about who they're supposed to be in the bedroom. And it's all emotional.
Yes.
Emotional.
Absolutely, Sandy. You said we are an emotional body. It's so take care of your emotions. Yeah.
That's funny. I've had many women contact me for that. I don't tell you.
I guess it's a comfort level. Yeah. What are the inquiries from the women for you?
Inquiries are that it's painful and that part of their body cannot relax enough to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It's hurtful, and it hurts them because they can't relax and let their body get into it. And so that's I've had several women with that issue, and it really
and they're better to come to you for that, because from my perspective, I'd say don't do that. Don't do that.
But
that's not necessary.
It's something a lot. It's more women than you'd think have a challenge with it. It's not talked about a lot because normally, yes, it's about guys. We see the commercials everywhere now for Cialis and Viagra for performance. And, for guys, sometimes it's actually the best thing that could happen to you, because maybe it's telling you you don't belong there.
Exactly. Thank you. Hallelujah. And I've said this before. One of the greatest things that can ever happen to a guy is if his dick breaks.
Yes. Because connection is lacking. That's why they do this, because they force themselves to prove themselves. Exactly.
Yeah, it is. If the connection isn't there, it becomes a kind of a macho performance issue. Yeah. That's not what it's supposed to be about.
No.
But with online dating and with how quick everything moves nowadays, there is a huge amount of pressure on guys to be like, hey, you know what? She's dating, she's talking to a bunch of other guys. Let me be the one that performs the best. And they make it, and it shouldn't be that way at all. But it's kind of human nature to go there And that really goes against the connection and the flow, and of having it be a true connecting experience. And so for most, most guys, I just say, like, the key to a successful date isn't going to bed with the woman the first night. It's not even trying to find the right moment to kiss her. Just be present and don't force anything. Just see if you even like this person before you put all this pressure on yourself to have to be like the way you think everybody else is, because everybody isn't that way. And a lot of women aren't comfortable right away going into sex too soon, but they do the same thing as well without even saying it. And for many, it's not an experience where they even are able to finish themselves because they're not comfortable, And so it's important to make it. I think what Francesca said, if you see it as a healing, connecting energy versus a performance, or I'm taking something from you, or I'm giving something to you.
Yeah.
It should be more sharing.
The performance, I believe, is part of it. Sorry, Glenn, if I interrupt you, but it must be from an authentic place, from participating truly, because otherwise it's all fake. I mean, sorry if I say this, but when I watch a porn that is not authentic, is not the same. So, it's very important for people not to imitate and not to copy others, but to truly perform, following your own nature for what you truly are. Because performance can be creative, for example.
My son, who's 13, came home from school and said, my teacher said porn is really bad, like drugs, so I'm never going to watch it. This is what my 13-year-old boy said to me. And I said, I am shocked, first of all, that they're even going there. I said, I understand the point where porn does become an addiction, like gambling, and then that's not what we want from it. I said to him, but it can be a very beautiful thing. Why would you say off the bat you're never going to engage in something like this when you don't even know what you're talking about? He said, my teacher said that it's really bad. I said, for some people it can be. And Francesca, exactly what you're talking about. These young, and men specifically, and women go along with it, I think, but these men feel like they're supposed to be doing that stuff that they're seeing in, there's good porn, there's bad porn, right? In the bad porn, which is 99% of it, right? They think they're supposed to be being this way. And I give so much credit to these poor boys who then become these poor men who just don't know where to learn from. They don't know. And I told my son, I said, find what feels comfortable for you and don't mimic the crap that's in there, right? But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. You just have to weed through and find what feels right. But a lot of what they're portraying in porn has absolutely nothing to do with connection.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Glenn said something beautiful. Go to dinner is the perfect setup because you enjoy, you are distracted by the food. You can also explore flavors together, and it's the best way to connect because it is sexual in a very pure way because you are in front of each other and you can share not only your body but what's in you. So that's when you feel if you feel comfortable or not. Also, it's the first step.
Yeah.
That the thing I'll say quick though about male, when it comes to male performance, the number one reason men can't perform is pornography. It is, for guys that are having issues, get off of it. It will all come back. It really does mess with your dopamine levels and the way you it takes away it does take away your creative energy in being able to share it. It really mutes it. So for any guy that's having an issue, 99% of those issues will go away very, very quickly when you stop watching it, because your creativity comes back, your brain comes back, and all that starts to work again. So for many guys, it really is detrimental to their sexual health. And that's just a thing. For obviously not everybody, but if any guy listens to this, if he's having issues in that area, cut it out for a couple weeks and watch what happens to you.
Exactly. Really good point. It's not because God said porn is bad, but because it's like when a person takes a drug, and I'm not for or against drugs, do and be whatever you want to be. But what a drug does, porn being a drug in this case, what a drug does is it unfocuses you, it defocuses you. In that moment that you're enjoying the good enjoyment part of whatever drug a person decides to take, in that moment, the sort of good thing that's going on is that it's releasing, or at least lessening, resistance. You have a lower level of resistance, which is very, very good for you, okay? But because it's coming from a defocused standpoint, and this is exactly, I think, what Glenn is saying, you start to lose your own ability to focus yourself. So then you become addicted and you have to go to that drug to get that feeling. That's where it becomes a problem. If somebody has a balance, they can watch porn, have a great night, whatever, and then move on from it and be able to get themselves there all on their own. Well, now we have balance. But the moment it throws us out of balance, and the more and more you're unable to direct your own energy yourself, which is why for years, decades now, I've been studying and teaching Tantra. I don't teach Tantra within my hypnotherapy practice. I practice it on my own. I've taught it to people outside of my practice. But when people can learn and understand tantric sex, they understand whether or not there's any kind of penetration going on. It becomes absolutely irrelevant, and you learn to use those energies, you learn to circulate those energies, and you do learn to take what is sexual energy and turn it to creative energy, intuitive energy, and all areas of your life begin to explode in positive ways because you've learned how to be the one in control. When we do the drugs and when we, overuse the porn, you are
Distracted.
yourself. You're taking yourself out of being in control. And whoever said, I want to be not in control, yet we're doing it to ourselves.
Yeah. There is distraction going on, even though it looks like you are focusing on it. Absolutely. So when we say creativity, it's important to understand that we mean participation. So we don't mean doing everything here and there. No. We're all creative here, so we understand that we can be all over the places. So for creative energy, which comes from sexual energy, is participation. Because when you do anything creative, it can even be a painting, you are present and you participate. So you can give out your real energy. So participation is key. While when you, for example, only watch or you do drugs, you don't participate. You think you do, but you don't.
Yeah, it's what would you have you had this, Sandy or Francesca? I've had, guys that are so addicted to watching porn that literally it consumes 8 to 12 to 14 to 16 hours of their day, where they can't even get out of the house because they won't stop watching it. And it's like they're basically living kind of in a prison to where that's all they do for hours upon hours. And that does become an addiction like any other heavy drug. I mean, their whole life is, and it gets darker and darker for them because they get more and more desensitized to it.
Yeah.
And that's that.
It's very dangerous.
I don't know many women that have that problem. That tends to be pretty much a guy thing.
Because it's from the mind, from the logical side of men, because women being more emotional, they can have many other dangerous traits, in my opinion, but the man, because he's more logical, he ends up there, because it's in the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, men are more, well, it's just DNA. But, so like anything else, it just becomes a drug, but it doesn't have to be. Just like drugs don't have to necessarily be bad either. It all is in your approach to it. Why are you doing it? Are you going it? Action can be taken essentially in two directions. It can be taken to go toward what it is you do want, or action can be taken to compensate for a negative emotion. Most people in our society are taking action, and in this case watching porn, to compensate for a negative emotion. They're trying to fill a hole. They're wanting to feel pleasure. Now it takes more and more. They build up a tolerance, and it's an empty hole anyway, so it doesn't ever get filled anyway. So they're chasing their own tail, right? So that's action to compensate for emotion, which is most decisions people are making in life, even when it comes to their careers, even when it comes to friendships, when it comes to everything. People are taking action to cover up or overcome negative emotion. What I want for people is that they choose to take action toward what it is they do want. If it's watching porn sometimes, and if it's doing drugs sometimes, it's fine. At what point are you losing control? And that's where we want to take a look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you believe, Fraser King, do you believe that is learned through intuition with your partner? How do we learn sex? Can you guys see that? I don't have my glasses.
So do you believe that is learned through intuition with your partner? How do we learn sexual to perform satisfactory with no real guidance? Porn can be good and bad, but the art of love making is beautiful. Balance is the key. Absolutely. But let's remember that performances are very personal. So if you watch too much people that are actually acting, because in the porn it's barely authentic, even though they can look authentic, which is of course amazing, but it's not. So the performance itself, it's acted. In the moment it's acted, it is not personal. So in the moment you are replicating it, is an inspiration only if you make it your own and you perform your own. The fact that people copy others, for me, it's an illusion, because you are not acting from yourself, you're acting from your mind. And as we know, without mind and body connection is not sexual at all.
When we use the word performance, we already know something's off. It should not be a performance.
There's many ways to share that experience, and it doesn't always involve what you see on TV screens. You know, there's ways of touching and holding each other that don't involve, you know, that don't involve certain things that also
yes,
an experience that you guys share together. You know, it's not just one thing. It's not just the act of intercourse that makes a sexual experience. You know, there's many ways you can share that. And
yeah.
And let's be clear. We're not, I know, because I'm speaking for both of you, because I know you think the same thing. We are not suggesting that you have slow, light, boring sex. You can be very connected and very intuitive and be as physically wild or role play-ish as you want. But there's stillness in that movement. And even when you are being physically soft, slow, and still, there's so much energy movement in that stillness. So it's a dance of all of it. All things are possible, but who is the common thread of who you're being throughout this performance, right?
Very beautiful, Sandy. And the idea is to switch off the brain while you have a sexual experience. So the point is mainly this. If you are mainly focusing on what you watch, your brain doesn't switch off, and so your body stops. So the idea is to switch off your brain and to start feeling your emotions, which is energy motion, and you start moving your body, acting, being you. Exactly.
Francesca, if you could get your wish from this conversation, what would you say our question was when we started, and what insights have we uncovered, or would you like to reach for before we end our conversation?
I think we covered many points, apart the fact that people need to understand where is your sexual desire coming from, because many people are attracted to confidence, to courage, because they lack it within themselves, and this is not through sexuality. So focus, understand the attraction, where is it coming from, and also do you embrace it within yourself, because otherwise there is no true connection of sexual energy. So if you lack it within yourself and you have this deep desire of sexual energy because of what you lack, is not true sexual energy. This becomes addictive because you are fulfilling a void that is not within you yet. So when it's truly sexual, the energy is equal and there is passion. So many people feel sexual only looking at something they don't have, okay? Can be anything, can be confidence, courage, can be someone talking a lot, can be something that the person is lacking, okay? Itself, their own self. So this is not a sexuality you will find without being addictive. So it's very important to connect to yourself. That's why we always say it's healing, because if you heal yourself, you understand your sexual energy, you heal yourself, and then you can truly have a sexual experience.
So Glenn, if somebody came to you with what Francesca was just talking about and says, look, I just, it's an empty hole for me, right? What's your practical guidance at this point? How do you guide them from here?
Well, I don't know that there's a one word or one way answer for that. It would really depend on one, what have their experiences been? You know, have they been sexually mistouched? Have they been abused? Has it been inappropriate, or has it been good experiences or bad experiences? And unpacking that, I think, is the first step. And then, you know, let's talk about your partner. What kind of person are you with? You know, do you feel safe with your partner? Are you able to be who you are in that area? Because so many people don't talk about it. Couples don't talk about their sexuality together. Husbands and wives, couples, partners, they'll let it be the, like, you know, pink elephant in the room, that they won't communicate about it. They won't kind of discuss their needs, and hey, you know, our way of connecting in this area really isn't working for me. Instead, you know, they'll try to force it upon the other person, or find ways to do it aggressively, instead of really communicating about it and being vulnerable with what you want. You know, that's the biggest first step, that people don't talk about it with each other. Crazy,
I
right?
love that so much. And what you remind me of is, a couple of years ago, I got a certification in sex and intimacy with hypnotherapy. And while I'm doing all these courses, and I'm on my computer taking the tests and everything. And one of the things so I'm in bed.
Was that with Lisa Mockingbird?
No,
Oh.
it was a different. No, it was. Okay. But anyway, but I was really into taking this course and the tests and everything that went along with it. So Jen is next to me in bed while I'm on my computer doing this, which, by the way, I wouldn't have been on my computer had she been open to me, but she was shut down to me for a long time, right? So I'm like, well, screw this, I'll go back to school. So here I am doing this. And one of the things they said is, you know, turn to your partner and ask them, are you sexually fulfilled with this relationship? So I said, you know what, let me do it. And I turned to her, I said, are you sexually fulfilled in this relationship? And then she asked me the question, and I hadn't even answered it to myself, but out loud I said, no, not even close. And that was the beginning of a big, ugly end. And we ended up breaking up about a year later. And it took all of that sort of breaking and destroying, asking ourselves the question. When we did come back together, then, oh my God, absolutely better than ever. And we've never stopped having this conversation, and it continues to evolve. So
yes, because communication is participation, so it's always there, not just to remind people. Yeah,
really powerful. I hadn't even asked myself, and I was resenting her for years.
I guess the hard part for me, and it is something it's still in my head to this day. You know, this is one thing the church really does do that I think is a disservice to us. You know, as a kid, making you feel guilty and bad and wrong because you think about sex or you have sexual desires, and they mute it. They never speak about
terrible.
They never speak about the connection of it. It's always like it's wrong, it's a sin, you need to wait. And that approach, well, then what do you do with that energy? You're at war with yourself, and you're feeling guilty over feeling that, one, you didn't ask for that feeling because it's part of your makeup of who you are. And then two, if you're telling me it's bad, how do I redirect that energy? And what do I do with that energy? But they just tell you to stifle it. And then you feel guilty for having those desires. And that's really a disservice. Now, if somebody would have told me, here's why premarital sex is bad, right? If somebody would have said this to me, premarital sex is bad because if you are not sexually active with your partner and they don't treat you well, you will never stay with them. You will never let yourself be with somebody that doesn't respect, love
Of
you.
course.
But once you're sexually active, a lot of those things go out the window. And if you're not grounded, balanced, you're going to sacrifice your own self-worth just for sex. And that's why premarital sex can be bad. But nobody
Yeah.
ever, I know that, well, that I can understand, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. Very good
amazing
point,
and so
Glenn.
true. Yeah, really wise words. It's not about the sex. It's about that you're screwed up in every other area. It's so true. So
Yeah.
true. And once you do become sexually active and then you do open up to have these conversations, if you miss what I'm about to say, you're going to mess it up. So listen to what I'm saying. When you have this conversation with your partner or with yourself, never make it their fault. Never make it their fault. It's always just about communicating toward what it is you do desire. How can we do this together? Where is a comfort level for you? It's never their fault.
Yeah.
You
Never.
can't guilt somebody into a happy, intimate relationship. And you can't guilt somebody into doing the things you want them to do. So you especially when you haven't expressed it.
Right. It's never up to them to take care of you. You can state your needs. They can offer it back or not.
Fundamental.
Yeah.
Totally
It's
agree.
always, and if you really think that your partner is the one who's messing up your sex life, just remember you're the one who was accepting that this whole time. You train people how to treat you. So if it's not okay, you move on, but don't make it ever their job
Absolutely.
to take care of you.
Choices are always about the two. The love is about a tango, in my opinion. You know, it's made of two. So decisions, then there is the understanding. So people maybe, you know, don't act as they should and would because they understand that there are patterns. We can see along couples sessions. There is so much to say about these guys. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so look, once you've gotten that tango down, once you've learned to dance with the two of you, then you can turn it into a conga line.
Yes, that's why it's very important to understand that sex is not only the act itself, because people destroy themselves just because they're not having sex enough times every day. People judge me so much along my journey in the last 4 years because I was not having sex, because I was feeling in love. You can't imagine, guys, the ignorance of people. Well, fair enough, I'm so much more sexual inside and spiritual than people think, even though I don't have sex, because I respect love and I want to feel in love if I want to have sex. So it's very important, this topic. We totally agree.
Really
All right,
good.
well, let's wrap up our thoughts. And remember, anybody watching Saturday, join the webinar. It's going to be amazing, the mindset makeover. I have so many signups. It's going to be an awesome, huge event. I'm super stoked about it.
Saturday, guys, join the workshop.
Yes.
Glenn, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it.
It's going to be fun day.
Glenn
Super
and
stoked.
Sandy. Also, Sandy is part of it. I'm so sad. But in any case, I want to share it with all my community. So as soon as is about to be promoted, you will know all the details. Friends.
I'll do that right when we hang up. I actually went in this morning. I got to find the passcode for our. I know I have it.
Oh,
send you guys.
Send it to me. I'll post. I'm going to post. Glenn, send it to me. I will post it on the Three Ways Podcast YouTube page, where we also have a whole bunch of new episodes just uploaded. We're gonna in the next. I'll do it. I have a plan. No, I have time. Right now, send it to me, Glenn. In the next 20 minutes, I will have a promotional video for Glenn's Saturday workshop on the Three Ways Podcast YouTube page. That'll be my job in the next 30 minutes. Okay, I love you guys. Mwah.
Yes, ciao guys, it's so nice to see you. Mwah.
Bye.
As always. Mwah.